Hi, this is Stephanie Weaver here in the Blue and Yellow Kitchen in San Diego, California, with Microwave Boy on the camera and Daisy Mae, the Golden Retriever, wandering around with a stuffed pizza in her mouth for the time being. I'm making vegetarian lasagna today. There will be a link to my recipe, which is similar to this. It's not exactly the same. So we're going to be making it with uncooked lasagna noodles, and the first thing I noticed when I pulled these out of the cupboard today is that they are not in fact gluten-free. I'm not sure what was happening at the store. I know it's been a tricky time sourcing products. I really had a taste for lasagna, and I decided I was going to go to a couple stores last week. For some reason, and maybe because this company also makes gluten-free, I grabbed this and thought it was gluten-free, but it is made in Italy. And their wheat is lower in gluten than American wheat, and this is also an artisan product. There's some really interesting stuff on their website. The company's Bio Nature, AE at the end, and so I think it'll be okay. When I go to Europe, I do eat wheat there, not a lot, and it's certainly not ideal for me, but it's not. I don't have celiac, so. At any rate, this is what happens right now when we have issues with sourcing products. But I also should probably count how many of these guys there are. 6. Huh. All right. I'll figure this out. All right, so we're going to start. So what I have, let me show you what I got.
Why do you have to know how many there are?
Well, because I'm going to be layering them, and
Right.
I want to know how many layers I need to make.
Okay.
So yeah, I should have counted them before. So I've got 3 carrots minced really finely in the food processor, and then I've got some raw like baby kale blend minced up in the food processor. I've got some herbs from my garden, which are going to be basil and oregano, optional, which is going to go in with the greens. So these are going to be 2 different layers. So when you cut it, hopefully it'll be real pretty because you'll have a green layer and an orange layer. Some mozzarella cheese shredded, and some salt-free marinara sauce, and then some gluten-free breadcrumbs for the top, as well as my ricotta, which is sort of a blend. Okay, so some people make lasagna with bechamel sauce, which is a thickened white sauce. Some people make it with ricotta. My mom used to make it with cottage cheese and eggs. This is kind of a mishmash of those things. This is cashews, so 2 cups of cashews that I soaked. Then I blended them with a cup of water, 3 eggs, and some Italian seasoning. So it's definitely going to be pourable, and this is what, besides the cheese, is going to bind the layers together. So why do I do that? Well, when I do this, that means I'm lowering the sodium. I'm controlling the amount of sodium. If I have regular cheese and ricotta and regular sauce with salt in it, it's going to be too much sodium for me because I'm on a low sodium diet. So one of the things that's nice about making your own food is you can control elements like that. Hopefully that'll make sense. So, oops, don't fling that on the floor. That would be very sad. So we're going to spray the pan. We want to do that. This is a 9 by 13. I just call it a lasagna pan, but it's technically just a roaster. And you want to spray the pan so that it doesn't stick, and then you start with a layer.
Like olive oil, or?
Yeah, so this is it's Trader Joe's. It's an extra virgin Spanish olive oil spray with no propellants. So it's just straight up olive oil. And then they also thankfully I didn't have to make my own sauce because I had salt-free sauce. This is my mom's trick to get open a jar. You tap it with something hard, and then it usually breaks the seal for you, and you just pop the top right off. Isn't that fun? Thanks, Mom. It's a fun little thing that she taught me years and years and years ago. Okay, so we're going to just do enough sauce to cover the bottom. So why? First of all, the sauce helps it not stick, but also these noodles are not cooked, so they have to absorb moisture throughout from the dish. So that's why this is a little bit wetter than I might have normally had it. And then I'm going to add some water to the sauce. Actually, now that I've poured a little bit out, I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of water into the sauce. Stir that up. And then that is going to be my sauce. So And you don't have to worry it's going to seem really thin. That's okay because the noodles are going to absorb it. You're cooking the noodles with lasagna as you're baking it. Okay. So, let me get that out of there. All right. So, I'm going to start. Let me actually do an official count of the noodles. Now, one of the things that they said is that these are made by hand using bronze dies. So that's kind of cool. I think they must press them somehow. And these are also shorter than traditional. This is an interesting. I think I'm gonna have to do them sideways. Okay, so all right, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do them sideways, people.
Well, it's a good fit.
Which I normally don't do. Okay, so and they won't touch now because they're going to absorb moisture and expand. So I've kind of spread, if I slide this thing, I guess you can kind of see. So I've spread them out a little bit. Let me just count how many there are.
Do your noodle inventory.
4, 5. I might have, interesting. None of them are broken, which is really unusual. So normally if you have a broken layer, you start with a solid layer and then you use your broken pieces on layer 2. And then you fit those in, and that way everything kind of forms together and you don't notice it. I might have some extra pieces and that's totally fine. So I'm just thinking, I think I'm going to put this next, just a little bit of this, because I do want not only moisture, but I want it to all stick together. So, all right, so you can spread it around. You can be less careful and fussy than that. It's really up to you. But you do need to make sure that the noodles have sauce or cheese or something on them on every layer. Okay, so probably do my green layer now. And
what is this again?
so this is a food processor, raw, finely minced. It was like the end of a bag of baby kale, and I think it's probably baby spinach and something else. Then I also threw in some frozen kale from the garden. And now it would have been nice if I had had more. Now, if you're using cooked noodles and you add vegetables, you actually do want to squeeze them dry in a towel like this. But because these are uncooked noodles, you actually want all that moisture from the vegetables. Otherwise, you get a soggy lasagna, and nobody wants a soggy lasagna. All right, so these are, this is, oregano from the garden. And I'm just pulling leaves off whole. So this is my sort of herby layer, which I think is going to taste really nice. And that's 3, my herb garden is just really nice right now, so I've got 3 nice. So, if you wanted to spring for the packages of the herbs, 1 package of basil, 1 package of oregano would be great, but certainly not necessary. You could add, I did add about, I think it was like a tablespoon of dried Italian spices, the Italian herb blend that's salt-free, to this blend. So there are the dried spices, but it's really nice to add the fresh herbs because they just add, different sort of dimension to the lasagna. And, anybody who says, oh, I've got this quick recipe for lasagna, they're just lying. Even not cooking the noodles, it's still a time-consuming dish. That's why I don't make it every week. I make it maybe twice a year. Just all of a sudden one day I'll wake up and go, oh, I really want to make a lasagna. And then I have to source the noodles, which turns out I didn't do very well. But I'm excited because I'm smelling the basil and the oregano.
You say basil, I say basil.
That's right. Okay, now we're going to start with our mozzarella. And you don't have to use a lot in each layer. That's the thing. I think sometimes maybe people put a little bit too much. Just a light coating, because you're going to end up with, essentially 2 pounds worth of cheese and cheese-like products in this. I could do some more sauce, I guess, here. Sure, why not? And you also it doesn't matter so much. As long as there's something that sticks the layers together in between each layer, it doesn't matter if you put sauce in each one or not. It's really all going to be good. I'm very curious to see how this is going to work out, whether it's going to fill the whole thing or not. Because, like I said, I've never done them with these shapes before. But yeah, okay. Clearly this is what we're doing. I'm just going to have to...
No going backwards.
No going, that's right. Can't go backwards. But that's why I like this, sort of bechamel that I've made with the cashews. So there's the recipe that I'm going to post, which is my vegan version of this. You would use the Daiya grated mozzarella, faux mozzarella, and I use silken tofu with the cashews for the ricotta layer. So so there's lots of ways that you can get around this if you're eating more plant-based now, or if you always eat plant-based, or you'd like to try eating plant-based. This is vegetarian, but it's not vegan. But the instructions that you'll see in my link are actually for a vegan lasagna.
You don't really miss the meat in
well,
this
and
dish.
you grew up in Indiana, right? I grew up in Ohio. Neither one of us ever considered that we would, in our lives, be eating plant-based. I mean, we would have salads and we would have potatoes, but nothing like. We were completely plant-based for 4 years. And we didn't really miss it because there's so many different options now, so many different alternatives. And there we go.
I'm sorry I did not de-squeakify this.
It's
I
okay.
usually check.
It's all right. It's fine. She's having fun. So this is the thing: is she completely is asleep, lays around, completely ignores us until we turn the camera on, and then she's like, "Oh, I need to be part of this. Oh, I need to show off." So it's very funny because it's not something I would have really predicted.
She's having a conversation
with this dog, she's not really. I mean, she's social, but she's not like a show-off dog. She does not like to have her photo taken. She is, I would say, kind of a shy, retiring personality. As a dog, our previous dog was much more sort of energetic, and so I just find it very funny that this is what turns her alive, is knowing that we're talking to people and wanting to be part of it. I just find that really amusing. Okay, so we got another layer. So we've used our carrots up, we've used our greens up and our herbs, and we've got our faux bechamel going. All right, I'm gonna put a little bit more cheese on that. So here's the thing, you can use cooked vegetables. You can use, I think my recipe that I'm sharing probably cooked up some thinly sliced mushrooms for a layer. You could use butternut squash. Of course, if you added thin slices of eggplant, then you're kind of getting into an eggplant parmesan situation. You kind of can't go wrong when you've got pasta and cheese and some sort of eggy thing that's sticking them together. It's going to be delicious, right? So you don't need to worry, am I doing this right?
Well, how thick can you build this thing?
Well, I think I'm going to go one more layer because,
really?
Yeah, and then I'll just have 2 pieces left.
And that's not going to affect the baking time?
Well, we'll see. So the oven is preheating to 350. And so my instructions, and which we will follow, say to go 45 minutes. So what I'm going to show you what the final step is. It's going to be sealed very tightly with foil, because you have to seal in all that moisture in order for the noodles to cook.
All right,
So
go big.
we're gonna go big or go home. So we're gonna cook it for 45 minutes. Daisy agrees. I think that's what she just squeaked, was yes, 45 minutes. And then we're going to pull it out, uncover it, and we'll just make a determination at that point if it seems like it's good, and then you bake it uncovered for another 15 minutes. So it's a total of an hour, but you want to uncover it so that the top gets crispy, and that's when I put on the breadcrumbs, which are optional. You can also put some Parmesan or Romano on that top layer, and then you bake it uncovered. You get that nice crispy top layer, which is just such a nice contrast to those kind of gooey layers that are in the middle, right? All right, so I'm gonna save some cheese for the top. And oops, a little bit more of that. I'm curious to know if this.
So that water made it a lot easier to just pour that out.
Pour it out, right? So yeah, all right. So we're gonna. All right, I already did that.
So
okay.
So you're planning to use that whole jar?
Whole jar, yeah. So this is a 26 ounce jar. Oh, interesting. I thought it would be 32. Maybe that's what they are. I usually don't. I usually make my own sauce. I do have a chunky tomato sauce recipe on my website. You can search. It's really easy and super yummy, and migraine friendly. And it actually will also be in the new cookbook when the cookbook comes out, and spring 2022 is still what we're saying, I think.
And so the migraine diets are also good for sodium, for inflammation, for
yes,
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so it's it's
not just migraines.
Yeah, migraine diet, or my plan is low sodium. Almost completely free of nuts. It's gluten-free. It's almost no sugar. So it's really good for inflammation. So anybody who's got any issues with hypertension, with cardiovascular disease, any kind of autoimmune stuff that you've got soreness and inflammation, it's really good for all of those folks. Yeah, so we have 2 left over. I can always cook them separately for a little snack at some point. And I'm just gonna finish off my sauce. Just making sure I didn't leave anything out. I don't think I did. All right.
So, like, what kind of snack are you going to make?
I don't know. At some point when
what would you just throw, like, peanut butter between pizza?
No. I would, let's say, you're eating, you've decided you're just going to have a turkey burger and a salad, and I might cook these 2 pieces and just throw some cheese on them or something, and butter, nothing too exciting. Okay, and I said butter the way your mom used to say butter. Butter.
That said it all right there.
That's right. Okay, so want to wipe the spills off. It's aesthetics, but it's also easier to clean up. And then last step, okay, I'm going to set those aside, is you spray. So you use the shiny side that's going on top, and you spray it so it doesn't stick to the cheese. Okay. All right. And then you want to really seal it as firmly as you can, because you don't want the steam escaping. You want the steam, all that moisture, you want to cook those noodles. All right, so we're going to turn the camera off. We'll be back in 45 and you'll see how it looks. 45 minutes later, let's take a look and see what our lasagna looks like. It's very exciting.
Ta-da!
Well, cheese did stick a little bit. It's not a bad thing. Okay, so it is a little watery around the edges. That will bake off. Let me just grab it. Let's see. So noodles are soft. It does look like they've expanded reasonably well, so that's cool.
Well, how can you tell that it's getting cooked through? I mean, that's just the top.
Yeah, so, well, you don't know for sure, but it's got another 45 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape the cheese off because you don't want any of this cheese to go to waste. So that's going to go back in there. And then we're going to just do the topping. So I did grate up a little bit of Romano just for a little added flavor for the top. I have to really be careful with Romano as much as I love it because it does give me a migraine. There's something about just being so, I don't know what it is, if it's really aged or what, but.
So that's the thing with cheese and migraines, it's fermentation.
It's the fermentation, the aging, and so it increases the levels of something called tyramine, which is an amino acid that is naturally produced in food by tyrosine. It's a breakdown product, and so it's naturally occurring, but in higher levels. Some people are sensitive to it, not everybody, and not everybody in the migraine field agrees with all this stuff, but I can tell you that if I smell too much Romano, I start to get a headache. So it's for sure a thing for me. So this is going back in for 45 minutes or 15 minutes. We're going to pull it out, and then I'm going to see if it still looks too wet. It might need another 5-10 minutes. So we'll be back in 15 minutes or so. See you in a minute. 15 minutes later, let's take a look and see where we're at here. So we got some. It smells incredible. We've got some beautiful browning on the top. It's actively like boiling and bubbling in the edges. I've got really nice browning, and you asked me a question before we turned the camera. What was that question?
Well, how do you know?
How do you know it's cooked all the way through?
Do you have to cook the liquid down that you're seeing? Or
it's a really good question.
Do you stab it with a fork? What do you do?
So I know that this being cooked for 60 minutes means the eggs are cooked, the cheese is going to be melted, the vegetables inside are going to be cooked. So really the question is, do you trust what you're seeing? So what I'm seeing is, I could grab a fork again. I'm not going to cut into it because the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to cut into it now. It needs to sit for at least 10 minutes, more like 15. This is feeling very firm. So like just when you're baking a cake and you kind of touch the top and it springs back, it's not sliding around, it's not slippery, it's not loose. It looks like we got a lot of really good, coming together, and these noodles have absorbed all this liquid. Now, yes, there's still going to be a little bit of liquid in the around the edges. That some of that will firm up and and it maybe it didn't need quite a half a cup of water added to it, but you also want to make sure that the noodles are cooked. So
did those noodles expand?
And did those noodles expand? Yeah. So I'm not sure they expanded to the full. I think they expanded this way. I don't know that they expanded this way, but we will come back in another 10-ish, 15 minutes, and we're going to cut into what we're going to see how we did. Okay. Okay. The hardest part is the last 15 minutes when you just want to dig into it. But let's take a look and see what happened in those 15 minutes where it was sitting. Almost all of that liquid around the edges has been absorbed, which is good. There's still a tiny little bit of bubbling, but I think we're good. And I'm going to cut it and see where we're at here. So, all right. So it's definitely cooked through because I'm able to cut the formerly hard
noodles?
Lasagna noodles, yeah, thank you. Thank you for finishing my sentence.
That's why I'm here.
One of many reasons why you're here. All right, it cut. I don't know if you can see. Well, you can see the layers. I guess on this side, maybe you can you see? You can kind of see the green and then the orange layer on the bottom there. But yeah, you can see now another 10-15 minutes or in the fridge. It's going to be very firm when it's cut, but it looks so tasty.
So that's part of what's happening is when it's sitting there, it's
absorbing. Yeah. This was one of the corners that had a lot of bubbling, and and when I cut it, you can see there's just a little bit of liquid in this corner. But it's not like there's a bunch of water or anything in the corner. And you can see that the edges where I cut it are holding very firm.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are great questions, though, because if somebody's never made it before, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know whether they were doing it right. One of our little jokes is when we're getting on each other's nerves, we tell each other that you're doing it wrong. Do it my way. Microwave boy's usually right.
I'm quiet right now.
It's very good. Very tasty. Got some crunch on the top. Nice and tomatoey. Not too salty, which is important for me. Nicely cheesy. The herbs are pretty subtle. The vegetables are subtle. Honestly, I think this is something where you could serve it to kids and they wouldn't even know there's vegetables in it. So if you have kids that are picky eaters and you can't get vegetables in them, this is a great way to do that. You could also blend the carrots right into the spaghetti sauce in the blender, and then you wouldn't even know they were there. So if you've got that as an issue in your house. But yeah, I'm super excited. Every time I make lasagna, I wonder why I don't make it more often, and then I remember how many steps it takes. And
Well, we're going to enjoy that all week.
all week, yeah, super excited. So hope this was a fun journey for you as well. Encourage you to get out and try it. The link will be in the comments. Follow me, S. Weaver MPH, and on Facebook, Stephanie Weaver MPH. And if you know anybody who gets migraines, my book, The Migraine Relief Plan, is available on Kindle as well as for order from any independent bookstore as well as the big online retailers. And please share this if you know somebody who loves lasagna. Take care. Bye.